Hi, my name is Sydney, and today I'll be walking you through the Team Action Plan activity as part of the Effective Team Dynamics curriculum. To give a little bit of an activity overview, we'll be starting with discussing personal values and then progress into talking about how you can use these personal values to develop a team action plan. We'll be talking about personal values that are developed off of statements called I resent statements. Everyone has their unique top 5 Clifton strengths and contributes great things to a group. In the same way, you might have particular things about working in a group that really bother you that you'll want to address with your team. We call these statements I resent statements, and you'll develop them based off of your past work in a group setting. Are there certain things that really upset you? Are there certain things that really you want to be proactive about in your group? The I resent statement is a perfect way to encompass what really bothers you and make it into an actionable item that makes your team work better. Here is an example of an I resent statement. I resent chaos and confusion, flying by the seat of one's pants. In this activity, you will be selecting I resent statements that are developed based off of your specific Clifton strengths. We'll be discussing how your team can accommodate this in the team action plan, but this is a really great example. When I'm working in a team, I really dislike when people are confused and when I don't know what's going on. I also really like to have a plan and have everything done ahead of time so we aren't throwing something together at the last minute. This is an example of an I resent statement that I would want to bring to my team because it really resonates with me. I resent statements should be specific to every individual, but there is a possibility that 2 students might pick the same statement in the activity. What does this mean? Well, the I resent statements can be accommodated in lots of different ways. For student A over here, to accommodate chaos and confusion, their team should have a written reason and plan of every action for a major group decision. This means that they really just don't like chaos and confusion when it comes down to decisions, and they want a written plan. But for student B, they might be thinking more along the lines of having responsibilities and tasks that are recorded and assigned in a task manager tool. Now, these statements both directly relate back to chaos and confusion, but show up in very different ways. Team member A is talking about group decisions, and team member B is talking about responsibilities and tasks. It's important when you discuss your I resent statements that you're discussing how your team can accommodate this, because this might mean different things to different people. It's also important to discuss the specifics about how to make these statements more actionable. We will discuss how to develop a team action plan in just a minute, but before you develop the team action plan, you need to have a detailed conversation about your I resent statements. If you want your team to have a written reason and plan of action for every major group decision, you need to be specific about what does this plan look like and what even defines a major decision. If we're discussing what time we should have our weekly group meetings, I might think that's a major decision because my schedule is crazy, but another team member might not think this is a major decision at all. So we need to be sure to define a little bit more specifics about your I resent statement to create a really actionable plan. Another example is here with team member B. They wanted to have responsibilities and tasks that are recorded and assigned in the task manager tool. But how often are you reviewing this tool as a team? And how often will the task tool be updated? Are we updating it after every meeting? Are we updating it every day? We need to incorporate the specifics so your I resent statements don't turn into a problem later. Now that we've discussed how to develop an I resent statement, we're going to talk about making your team plan really actionable. Look at these statements here. We will talk about problems, we will complete the project on time, we will listen to each other, we will all do our best, and we are all going to respect each other. These are really awesome statements, but they definitely need more specifics before going into the team action plan. How are you going to do your best? How are you going to talk about your problems? Will you talk about them at your group meetings? Will you talk about them via group message? And how will you complete the project on time? These are pretty vague statements that are awesome goals to have, but the team action plan really aims at developing specific checklist items to complete these goals. Something to make the team plan more actionable could be, what do you observe? Are you going to have to observe something at every meeting? This could be the team tool manager. Are you going to look at that task manager every meeting and see what needs to be updated? Incorporate what you might need to be writing down and what might need to be a produced product. The next one is the time. When are you going to do something? Are you going to do this on your own time? Are you going to do it at the team meetings? It's very important that you clarify what's the responsibility individually and what's the responsibility on the group meeting time, so people aren't being confused about their expectations. The next item is where. Are you going to be doing this on Google Drive? Are you going to be doing this on Trello? Are you going to be doing this on Dropbox? Clarify where everything is being added to make the team plan more actionable. If I need to add something to Google Drive, but my team doesn't clarify that, I might have made the product and had it completely done, but I haven't uploaded it to the correct place, so my team thinks I'm not doing my part. This is really important for your team to discuss off the bat, so you're all finding everything in the same place. The next thing to make something more actionable would be a process. Do you have a process for decision making? Do you have a process for adding things to the task manager? These are important things to discuss as a group and can tie back directly to the I resent statement we looked at earlier. If I think something is a major decision and I want us to write down our plan to making that decision, we need a process to do that. And if there's not a process in place, I might have felt like my group skipped directly to the decision without thinking it through. It's really important you sit down and decide on these processes as a team, and if you have them, be really specific about how you're going to accomplish them. The last thing to make a team plan more actionable is the tools. What tools are you going to be using? Do you prefer a task manager? Do you prefer a group message? Do you prefer a written agenda? These are really important to discuss to make sure everyone's on the same page and that you're updating things in the right place. Now that we've discussed how to make a team plan more actionable, it's time to plan for your effective team. First, each member should talk about the I resent statement that they are the most passionate about. Why are you passionate about it? Be sure to share specifics with your team and include what this I resent statement really means to you. The next step is sharing your story. What does this statement mean to you? How can your team accommodate this? Be sure to keep in mind what we discussed earlier with the personal value statements about how to be specific on how your team can accommodate your I resent statement. Next, decide as a team how you will plan for this as you work towards your team goal. This is the part of the plan where you're developing your team action plan. Be super specific in this part and definitely discuss this as a group. It's important that everyone's opinions are heard, and sometimes an I resent statement might actually be an issue for another group member. If I think that we should update the task manager every day, some of my other group members might think that's too much time commitment for this project. This is where you'll flush out all of the details and incorporate it into one document. Next, you can type your plan into the ETD app and share it with your teammates. It's really important that everyone's on the same page and has a copy of this team action plan to refer back to. Now that we've learned about personal values in the team action plan, we're going to complete the personal value activity on the ETD app. Open your app and select the personal value activity. Now we're going to choose the statement that resonates most with you. Earlier, we talked about chaos and confusion, so today I'm going to pick the statement being invisible to or ignored by others. Next, you're going to take 30 seconds to think about why you hate the statement you picked and share your reason to the team. If you need more time to discuss with your team, definitely take that time, but we're going to move on so you can pause the video if you're still discussing. Next, you're going to write down some actionable steps that your team can take to help accommodate this. So remember, these are the reasons we discussed in the video. Be specific here. So for our particular example, my team can go around and hear updates from every team member at the meeting. Give time at the end of every team meeting for every team member to give feedback. This incorporates everyone's opinions and allows us to hear from everyone so no one is invisible. During this phase, you're going to want to come up with 2 to 3 statements to share with your team. For today's example, we'll stick with our one statement, but I encourage you to come up with more than one statement when you're doing this activity with your group. Next, you're going to see your little slide. This puts together everything that you did in the activity, and you can actually share it with people. So you're going to hit this button at the bottom to export the activity, and then I can share it with my team members here that I'm doing a physics lab with.